United States is the world's premier superpower, but tomorrow that will almost certainly change. That's because China has put down about $1.9 trillion of funding to create the largest trade network in world history. How it will be carried out and why it is a threat to America's economic dominance. China's plan is known as the BRI, which stands for the Belt and Road Initiative. At its core, it is a massive infrastructure plan that aims to link most of Asia, Africa, and Europe into one giant trade network, with these being linked by 6 economic corridors that will be large centers of trade.
First, let's see where St. Martin's Island is located. It is in the northeastern part of the Bay of Bengal, about 9 kilometers from Cox's Bazar, Teknaf, and about just 8 kilometers from Myanmar. It's a tiny coral island, about 3 square kilometers area, with a population of under 4,000. What's the significance of St. Martin's Island? The island is part of Bangladesh's exclusive economic zone and holds valuable marine resources such as fish, oil, and gas. Most importantly, the island's strategic location in the Bay of Bengal makes it valuable to superpowers like the US and China. The island is close to Malacca Strait, a crucial route for commercial and military activities by China. There are allegations that Khaleda Zia-led Bangladesh National Party wanted to give the island to the US in exchange for electoral support. Why could the US be interested in the island? The US wants to set up a military base on St. Martin's Island, it appears. This will allow it to keep an eye on the Malacca Strait, which connects the South China Sea with the Burma Sea via the Bay of Bengal. According to the reports, the US was unhappy with the growing closeness between Bangladesh and China and Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative investments in Bangladesh as well as in Myanmar. Having a military base here would allow the US to balance Chinese influence in the region. St. Martin's Island would also be a perfect spot for surveillance on Myanmar, China, and even India.
A new interim leader came to power named Muhammad Yunus. Muhammad Yunus has been closely linked to the US government for decades. He spent a large part of his career working in the US, training as a neoliberal economist. And in 2009, US President Obama gave Yunus the Medal of Freedom. After Bangladesh's government was toppled, the US State Department immediately recognized the new unelected administration. Sheikh Hasina said, quote, "I could have remained in power if I had surrendered the sovereignty of St. Martin Island and allowed America to hold sway over the Bay of Bengal." Now, China, its largest oil partners are in the Persian Gulf. Countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, providing oil and liquefied natural gas, LNG, and they provide 90% of that through the Strait of Malacca.
This waterway is really important. It's crucial to the world's economy, it fuels nations, and it could be this global superpower's biggest weakness. This is the Malacca Strait. The Malacca Strait is a narrow strip of water in Southeast Asia. It sits between the Indonesian island of Sumatra, the Malay Peninsula, and Singapore. It's about 500 miles long. And at its narrowest point, here, it's only about 1.7 miles wide. And yet this is one of the most important shipping routes in the world. Why is it so important? Because this is the quickest and therefore cheapest route for goods moving between the Middle East and East Asia. Around 94,000 ships travel through here, carrying 30% of the world's traded goods every year. But for countries like China, its importance goes even further. It receives 80% of its oil through here. This means it relies on tankers successfully bringing oil from the Middle East through the Malacca Strait to keep its economy going. This reliance on the Malacca Strait is a problem for China. The narrowness of the waterway means it could be blocked by another country, or unintentionally. If this happened, China would struggle to receive oil as cheaply, and the rest of the world would also suffer. Nearly half of the world's shipping fleet would be required to reroute around this Indonesian archipelago. A US blockade of the strait would only happen in a crisis if the two countries were at war. And the most likely way this could happen is if China invaded Taiwan. China has always resolved to reunite the island with the mainland, even if that means using force. So any escalation here could see an immediate flare-up of tensions here.